Hey everyone, this is Dan Burke, and today I'm going to be making a very brief video to address a few questions I've gotten about what do you need to get started to make this? How do you make your own armor? And nothing makes me happier than being able to pass people along that information because I want to see what other people can do. As much as I love making this stuff, and I'm going to be trying to selling it, I want other people to have the opportunity. So if you want to be able to make armor like this, here's what you need. First and foremost, you need to buy lames. And the lames or the plates can be purchased from at least a dozen different internet vendors. They're very easy to find. You can get them in plastic, you can get them in metal, you can get them in aluminum, steel. If you really want to be spendy, you can get them in titanium. It depends on the purpose you're using them for. Obviously, if you're using them for a heavier contact sort of sport like the SCA, you want more metal. If you're using it for LARP, plastic is probably fine unless your game forbids it. That's up to you. After these, the next thing you're going to need is the binding, which is to say something to lace these together. I favor paracord, specifically 550 paracord. Now, all 550 paracord is paracord that has a break point of 550 pounds. So it's very durable. It's got a little bit of a stretch and elasticity to it, but it's probably not going to snap. And the way you have to modify this is you have to melt these ends and shape it. The goal being that when you melt it and shape it, it fits into the lame perfectly, and you can go and just slide that around. That way you can go from piece to piece without a problem. Next thing you're going to want to do that is a pair of pliers, specifically pliers with no teeth. You see how these are perfectly flat. If you've done any kind of chainmail work, you probably already have a set of these because no one wants to scuff up their rings with pliers with teeth. So you can use these and you just shape this down, usually from the other direction, but you just tap this down and shape it till it gets to that nice little threaded point, and you use it just like a needle and you thread it through each of those holes. Now, on top of that, if I'm going to be melting it, you need fire. Now, this is the most low-tech solution you can possibly have. It's a candle. Melt it, shape it, then you dip it in the water to set it. Cools off rapidly, gets very hard. Now, a candle, as I said, is the most low-tech solution. It's also the least expensive. If you have a propane pen torch, those can be brilliant. They work wonderfully. I can't have a propane pen torch because I live in an apartment and I have nowhere to store propane. If you have a butane lighter, that makes a very, very good fill-in for this and can be perfect for that purpose, because at some point you're not going to have a bunch of separate pieces that you can very easily manipulate and move around to get these. It's hard to see on that one. Go to the red side. Where you want to go and melt it down and then tap it down and make basically just a nice little rivet at the end of it. So candle works great for that. When you get into a big piece like this and you have to start moving the whole piece around, that butane lighter or a pen torch can be very, very handy. Now, I mentioned the water. When you have heated up your paracord, you've shaped it, it's like that, and then you just go and dip it in there. Cold water sets it, it hardens up like a rock very quickly. The other nice thing about that is at some point you will have molten hot nylon that you've melted drip onto one of your fingers. Don't try to scrape it off. You'll just burn your hand. If you ever feel that nylon or you see it get on, you just go stick your whole hand right in the water. So part of this is not just enough to have water. You need to have something big enough to fit your hand into if you're burning yourself. Because I've gotten a few blisters, and thankfully that's all I've ever gotten, but you can burn yourself pretty badly with that stuff if you're not paying attention. Other things you're going to want, and we're getting into the more esoteric parts here. As you can see, I've got leather bindings on here that are going to be turned into straps and buckles. So I like just 1-inch strips of cowhide leather from Tandy. And as you can see, you start to accumulate a lot of different types of leather over time in different sizes and lengths and things that you'll be working on. So I like 1 inch for making the armor with. It works pretty good. I do strongly recommend that you make templates. And by templates, I mean if you know you're going to be making a lot of something. In this case, this is the strap that you put a buckle onto. that goes on the rear portion of the armor. And I know I've got to make 4 of these per suit of armor that I make, minimally. Make a template. Don't make yourself have to measure this out and redo it every single time. Build it once, label what it is, hang it up. In this case, you can see it's for rear, specifically for A plates, which is what these are. That way you have the exact measurements for what you need when you need it. You don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel. It's a very frustrating process if you do. For punching the holes in it, you need a couple of specialized tools. Now this is a steel 5mm hole punch. You can buy these as a set very inexpensively. They are the best things in the world for punching holes in leather. I strongly recommend you get one of these, and do not get one of those little rotary punches. The rotary punches have a tendency to twist and break, and you don't get clean holes out of them. You'll get these half-filled things, and there's chads hanging out of it. It's not good. It's also good to have a metallic Sharpie marker, because you can see it's a lot easier to write on these leather pieces when you have metallic Sharpies. So you can buy those in a 4-pack. Usually it's silver, gold, and copper, so that way you have something. No matter what the color of the leather, you can write on the back side of it and see it. This is another specialized tool, and this is what makes that hole right there. So you need this in order to put a buckle through. Now you could in theory take a 5 or a 4mm punch and just keep going down the line, but when you do that, you get this. It's very raggedy. It's not the best looking, as opposed to, one piece, it's very even, looks good. So that's important. Standard buckle, 1-inch buckle. These can be as fancy or as simple as you want. I buy very simple nickel ones that I can buy a pack of 10 or 20 of them relatively inexpensively. If you want to get super fancy buckles, you can wind up paying $2 or $3 a piece per buckle. And I don't really see a need to do that unless I'm doing a very specialized piece. Standard nickel-plated D-ring, you can buy a bag of 1,000 of these for $20. All that does, you can see here, just acts as a guide for the leather. So usually the buckle would go here, I'd put a D-ring here, so when that other piece comes through, you'll actually see it go through, buckle, and then guide throughout. So it stays neat. And for doing all of that hole punching, you want a self-healing mat. You can find these at any leather shop, just so that way when you're punching holes in your leather, you put this on the leather, put this in here, hit it with your hammer. That way when it goes through, it hits this plastic mat. And you can see there's some dings in it, but you hit this, you'll take this out, and the mat isn't broken, it isn't shattered, and it's not breaking these. If you have something solid, I've had one of my 6mm actually has a chip in it that I've got to replace it because the steel actually chipped because I wasn't using it in an appropriate fashion. And you'll want a rubber mallet so that way you can hammer things, nothing's getting excessive force, you're not chipping anything. Really smart way to do it. Rubber mallet, self-healing mat, all your leather punches. And that's pretty much all the basics at that point. Everything after that is your own setup, how you want to get your particular workbench done. You can do this in 1,000 different ways. I'm working with very limited space in an apartment. If you have a garage, you can make a very ornate space, and I've seen some lovely, lovely setups, especially for leather working and armor building. So let me know what you think, guys. If you have any other questions or you have any further questions on what to do next, shoot me a message, leave me a comment. I'll be happy to help you out. Have a great day, everybody. Have fun LARPing, and keep building that armor.